jails are bursting at the seams with inmates, and some, like Fulton County's, are under court order to do something about it. Channel 2 Action News has learned that something is in many cases allowing alleged rapists, murderers, and drug dealers to leave jail and never return for trial. Channel 2's Dale Cardwell is live in the Fulton County Jail in Northwest Atlanta with an investigation you will see only on 2.
Monica, these documents are known as 5-phase. What they are financial penalties against folks who fail to show up for court. We've discovered 5,000 of these in Fulton County court system alone. Some issued to alleged murderers, drug dealers, even rapists. And what's more, many of these folks are now fugitives on your streets.
This person should be walking the street. This or any other man that does this shouldn't be walking the street.
Barbara Moore couldn't believe it. The man who molested her 9-year-old granddaughter is back on the street, never punished for his crime, violating his agreement with the court.
I'm upset about that. I'm truly upset about that because my grandbaby had to go through something that should have never happened. I mean, and how can they let somebody like this get away with what he's done to her?
And Michael Sims is not an exception. We found thousands of fugitives let out of jail for various crimes and now failing to appear for their trials.
No one seems to know how many we have, and certainly no one knows where they are, and no one's on the hook for them.
Here's why. Under normal circumstances, a person has to post a bond to get out of jail. That bond's usually backed by a bonding company that's liable for the money in case the defendant fails to show up for court. But we've discovered more and more suspects are using a program you pay for that gets them out for free.
I was pretty shocked to hear that some pretty major felony offenders were getting out on pretrial release.
Pretrial release was created by the state as a way to help the court deal with overcrowded jails. But attorneys tell us the system's being abused.
As opposed to the way that the system was designed, where the low-level offenders would be the ones eligible for pretrial release, you would certainly think that all of those would at least be misdemeanors, but certainly no felonies.
Apparently, the directors of pretrial don't agree. Our investigation has discovered 5,000 fugitives who failed to come to court. 1 of every 3 is charged with a felony.
Distribution of heroin, aggravated assault, aggravated stalking. I think there was even a child molestation charge in there, a rape charge. Very serious offenses.
Who's looking for these people?
For the most part, no one's looking for them.
This is where we keep the 5-phase.
Sergeant Keith Greenwood, bond administrator for the Fulton County Sheriff's Department, showed us the records, stockpiled in drawers, simply gathering dust.
Does that frustrate you?
In a sense that if you're releasing people with aggravated nature bonds, then, I mean, yeah, that because I'm a citizen of Fulton County.
I sentence you.
Superior Court Chief Judge Elizabeth Long is ultimately responsible for Fulton County's pretrial release. She refused our repeated requests for an on-camera interview. But when asked over the phone why the program releases violent felony offenders, she told us, "I don't know." When asked if doing so is in the best interests of the citizens of Fulton County, once again she told us, "I don't know," adding, "I'm sorry, we made the best judgment we could." That's not good enough for the county's elected leader.
It's really a breach of public trust that this is transpiring, and you're showing me evidence that that has occurred.
Chairman Ken, as well as Lisa Cherniak, who is an attorney representing bonding companies, is calling for a revision and a revamp of the criteria for the pretrial release program. Now, who's on the hook for the money that's not coming into the court system? We're going to tell you that tomorrow night at 5. For now, we're live at the Fulton County Courthouse. Dale Cardwell, Channel 2 Action News.
An unbelievable and frightening story, Dale. Okay, look forward to tomorrow's report.
A man is arrested for molesting his neighbor. He admits his guilt, but week after week goes by, and he never goes to jail. Channel 2 Action News has learned thousands of Metro Atlanta fugitives arrested for crimes are let out of jail and never stand trial. Dale Cardwell joins us now with his investigation.
Well, Guston, jail overcrowding is such a big problem these days. We hear story after story about getting the numbers down. Well, this is a story about who's getting out of jail, why it's costing you millions, and putting your family at risk. One quick glance down Cloverdale Drive, you can see that the neighbors come from many walks of life. But none of them knew about their neighbor, Darren Smith.
Something should have been done about that.
I thought that we had a system where 3 strikes you're out.
Smith's a convicted robber, drug offender, and thief who's now out of jail on pretrial release.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. The fact is, our investigation has uncovered 5,000 fugitives let out of jail for serious crimes and now failing to appear for their trials.
It's somewhat alarming. It is certainly surprising, and it comes to me as a shock.
And though the list includes child molesters, alleged murderers, and thieves,
if there's no bonding company, there's no one out there looking for them.
critics blame the problem on pretrial release. It's a government program created by the state to let minor offenders out of jail without posting bond. But guess who's paying the price?
The court system. The taxpayers.
Sergeant Keith Greenwood showed us the proof. 5,000 judgments for failure to appear. The debt owed to you, the taxpayer, $8,495,000.
Who's losing that money?
Well, it's actually a combination. That money goes to many different places. Some of the very important things that money goes to are victims assistance funds, peace officers, training peace officers, pension, jail maintenance and construction.
So naturally, Fulton County makes an effort to collect.
We mail FIFAs out to and letters to the defendant and the surety, whether it's a pretrial entity or whether it's a bonding company.
Bonding companies have 10 days to pay, return the suspect, or surrender their license, while pretrial release just ignores them.
I haven't received any payment from either one, and I don't know of anyone in my office that has.
Both Fulton County and the City of Atlanta have pretrial release programs. Neither of their directors will talk with us on camera, but in these written answers to our questions, they admit they've never tracked the number of clients who failed to appear, and they don't know how many of the 5,000 fugitives have been released through their respective programs. Judge Barbara Harris is ultimately responsible for Atlanta's pretrial release. She also refused an on-camera interview. But when asked about the agency's multi-million-dollar debt, she told us Atlanta pretrial is not responsible for its payment.
This is amazing to me. It really is.
That response is unacceptable to Felicia Moore, who's concerned the Atlanta City Council will end up paying the bill.
I really think the city cannot afford to pay for these FIFAs, and I want to know what we're going to do to try to get that list dwindled down, or at least try to make some of these people pay.
Ms. Moore referred to FIFAs. Those are judgments for failure to appear. Now, it appears most of these judgments and these 5,000 fugitives are free tonight through the Fulton County pretrial release program. Still, Atlanta's pretrial program can't tell us how many felons they are responsible for letting out. Meanwhile, Fulton County Commission Chairman Mike Kinn says he's going to examine the possibility of collecting Atlanta's share of the no-show court debt if he can determine the numbers.
So who's going after these people, and what are they doing in the meantime?
Well, there's a fugitive squad with the Sheriff's Department, but they are overwhelmed. They can't go after these folks. And believe it or not, if these people stay out of trouble for 6 months while they're on the lam, their cases are dead docketed, and they go away. They go away. They are never brought to justice. And if they can lay low for 6 months, they get away with it.
And then the people they've committed the crimes against are then victimized again.
Victimized again, Monica. That's exactly right. We talked to a lady last night that said, I see this guy 2 streets away from me every day. I just thought his case was taking a long time. He's just never shown back up for court.
Eye-opening. Thousands of people out there, too. Thanks, Dale.
Could an accused felon be living in your neighborhood out of jail with no bond? Just days ago, a Channel 2 special investigation exposed a metro area program that allows accused violent felons to get out of jail with virtually no strings attached. Tonight, Dale Cardwell has more about the program that has many citizens very upset.
I'll keep my doors locked.
Her laugh is one of disbelief about a program called pretrial release, Fulton County's little-known way of allowing accused felons out of jail for free.
I mean, if they're not misdemeanors like traffic tickets or something like that, then I think that's a serious problem.
Pretrial release was created by the legislature to help counties deal with overcrowded jails. Its mission? Allow low-risk suspects to go home without bond. But critics say it's obvious this system's being abused.
I was pretty shocked to hear that some pretty major felony offenders were getting out on pretrial release. Distribution of heroin, aggravated assault, aggravated stalking. I think there was even a child molestation charge in there.
Pretrial's directors have refused our requests for an on-camera interview. But this copy of the program's criteria, obtained by Channel 2, shows violent offenders with 2 prior convictions are commonly approved for pretrial release.
I thought that we had a system where 3 strikes you're out.
Instead, Fulton County's releasing and requiring no bond from an average of 150 accused felons every month.
Maybe we might need to keep at-risk people incarcerated and incapacitated, so our safety is foremost. And it may cost a little more, but we may be safer in the long run.
Dale Cardwell, Channel 2 Action News.
Fulton County Commission Chairman Mike Kent is now calling for a revision of the pretrial program.